Hey everyone, I hope you're well. Sorry it's been a while since we've done one of those, but one of these, but we thought we'd do one for National Album Day, which is, if you're watching this on the actual day, is the 16th of October. So we thought we'd do, this year's theme is Women in Music, so I thought I'd do an album that I've come to love over the past year. So it's a bit of a departure for us because it's possibly the newest album that we've done, what with it being less than 18 months old. So what we are doing today is Folklore by Taylor Swift. At first, Taylor Swift wouldn't normally be my usual sort of thing, but she first came to my attention when she released this album in 2014, 1989. In particular, the song Shake It Off, which was stood out on the radio pretty well. And hey, guess what? It's got a load of other great songs on it as well. But this was her first pop album rather than it being defined as perhaps a country album. Called 1989 because she was born in 1989 in Pennsylvania. And she listened a lot to music as a child, particularly Shania Twain and Faith Hill and country artists like that. And she started writing her own songs. Well, her parents decided that she was quite gifted at songwriting, so they decided to relocate to Nashville, where she could work with writers and producers, and she eventually gained a record contract. To cut a long story short, she started selling records as a teenager. I think her first album was released when she was something like 15 or 16. And she became very popular with teenage girls because she spoke to them pretty much about their life. So 1989 was the first kind of where she shifted genres and specifically said it was a pop album. She released 2 albums since then, and then in the early part of last year, 2020, she was due to go out on tour. Well, obviously the pandemic hit, so the tour was cancelled, and she filled her time by watching films and playing around with bits of music, and she decided she wanted to record something. So she contacted a guy called Jack Antonoff, who'd been a collaborator with her on other albums. He got co-writes, and another guy from the band The National, Aaron Dresner, and Jack Antonoff and Aaron Dresner became co-producers with Swift on this album. Now, the recording was all done remotely. They would send song ideas back and forward and instrumentals. She would write lyrics and melody lines, and it was all a very collaborative process. They've co-written tracks with her. She's got some tracks where she's a sole writer. And her boyfriend, Joe Alwyn, is also credited on 3 of the songs, I think it is, but under a pseudonym. I think if you've got any preconceptions about Taylor Swift, then if you're going to listen to this, you really need to park them, because it's totally, possibly not what he was expecting. It isn't the crash bang wallop pop sound of this, which is it's very good, but it's completely different. It's not a country album. When I was researching this, somebody described it as cottagecore. Well, I don't know what that is, but I guess it's like a homemade kind of thing. It's a very subdued album, possibly fitting with the times that it was released, when we didn't know what was going to happen with the lockdown and the pandemic and whatever. So yeah, if you look at, you look at I think it's the first 6 tracks: The One, Cardigan, Last Great American Dynasty, Exile, My Tears, Ricochet, Mirrorball. They're all just fantastic songs. I mean, the songwriting on here is outstanding. I mean, the lyric writing, there's a line in The One which goes, I thought I saw you at the bus stop, but I didn't though. And that is just fantastic. I love that line. Exile, that features Justin Vernon of the band Bon Iver. which isn't what if you come into the album blind like I did, you're not expecting to hear somebody's baritone voice singing the first singing the first line of one of the tracks, but it works. It's about it's a relationship breaking up, really. But when you look at, I mean, she has. I'm going to read this out because I can't remember it. She has actually. She actually put out some notes about how she developed this. So this is a quote. It started with imagery, visuals that popped into my mind and piqued my curiosity. Stars around scars, a cardigan that still bears a scent of loss 20 years later, battleships sinking into the ocean, the tree swing in the woods of my childhood, hushed tones of let's run away and never doing it, the sun-drenched month of August, sipped away like a bottle of wine, a mirrored disco ball hovering above a dance floor, a whiskey bottle beckoning even, hands held through plastic, a single thread that for better or worse ties you to your fate. Pretty soon, these images in my head grew faces or names and became characters. I found myself not only writing my own stories, but also writing about or from the perspective of people I've never met, people I've known, or those I wish I hadn't. So, whereas previously she'd probably written about her own experiences, she was now transferring her songwriting into creating songs about other people, other worlds. During lockdown, she'd been watching films like Rebecca and Jane Eyre and trying to imagine what their world was like. I mean, one of the songs on here is called, I'm going to say it how English people say it, The Last Great American Dynasty. She sings The Last Great American Dynasty, which is about her home, her holiday home in Rhode Island, which used to belong to somebody called Rebecca Harkness. Rebecca Harkness was married to a billionaire who was the heir to the Standard Oil fortune. She was a philanthropist, but also a bit of a hedonist, and she threw parties at this house. And the song basically is about the local gossips in the town talking about her and making things up, possibly, or Chinese whispers. And then at the end of the song, you find out that she now owns the same house, and she turns it as in exactly the same things about her since she's moved into this home, or she uses this home. So I think that's a really clever way of getting that out there. The way the lyric is turned so it's about her. It's possibly the most personal song on the album. I don't know because I've not looked into every single lyric about, but it's directly references her. So also on this album, you've got songs that call back to each other, songs that reference something, and then later on in the album you hear the same reference again. So it's full of little Easter eggs and treat if you're listening out for that. If not, you can still enjoy it. It's not a concept album by any means. So yeah, so this was released in July last year, 2020. It was a surprise release. It was just pretty much announced and then it was out there on Spotify the next day, or streaming services, and I think it holds the record for the most amount of streams by a female artist in one day. So that shows the level of her fan base, and it attracted people like me. But I didn't listen to it until the end of last November, when I don't know if I shared this news, but Nottingham Sunday Vinyl Session very nearly ended up on ITN News. It didn't happen in the end because the way news is, it didn't get on. But we'd had a frantic 12 hours here, thinking that I was going to have to do a Zoom chat with ITN News. So we were getting things ready, and then, as I've said, as is the way with news, about an hour before we were due to do it, they just said something else has taken its place, sorry, so you're not going to get on the news. So I was a bit fed up. I was very nervous that I might have to do it because it's not a natural thing to speak on the television, not for me anyway. But I was a bit fed up that it'd not come off, so I just thought I'll play that Taylor Swift album that everybody's banging on about. And I found I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think it's an album for this time of year, for the autumn, season perhaps of reflection. The days are getting a little bit colder and darker, and To me, it suits this time of year, even though it was released in the height of summer. But then she surprised us all, and in January this year, she released this, Evermore, which is very much more of the same, very much homemade, very subdued, almost quiet, no fancy production tricks or anything. Hymer on this, the National on this, and Bon Iver feature on it again. I was listening to this week actually, and I think I might actually prefer this, but I don't know. They're all they're very much cut from the same cloth. So if you like them, or if you, I would, they're worth investigating. I've just said, whatever you may have preconceptions about Taylor Swift, park those at the door. These are very good albums. So if you do decide to listen to it, I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's always good to hear from you. And what I would say is we hope to be back with you live, or in a more not doing these sort of things, at some point in the new year. Where that will take place, we don't know yet. Whether it's going to be at the Lord Roberts or somewhere else, we don't know. I am going to bring you another one of these virtual sessions before the end of the year. We are working on some kind of Mixcloud / podcast idea, but I need to work out the logistics of doing that, because I don't know. So yeah, I hope everybody's okay. If you listen to the album, I hope you enjoy it, or enjoy your records, whatever you listen to. And we'll see you later.